We live in a world where power is celebrated, success is admired, and strength is often mistaken for security. Nations, institutions, and individuals build their confidence on wealth, influence, and position. But what happens when pride replaces humility, and indifference replaces compassion? Obadiah is the shortest book in the Old Testament, yet it delivers one of the strongest warnings in Scripture. It speaks to betrayal between brothers, the danger of arrogance, and the certainty that injustice never goes unnoticed. In this video, we're going to explore Obadiah, a brief but powerful prophecy, and discover what it teaches us about pride, responsibility, and the unshakable reality of God's justice and kingdom. Overview. Obadiah is a prophetic message directed almost entirely toward one nation, Edom. Though small in size, the book carries a focused and intense message of judgment and restoration. Edom was descended from Esau, the brother of Jacob, making Edom and Israel closely related. This shared ancestry makes the betrayal described in Obadiah especially painful and significant. The book centers on Edom's response to the fall of Jerusalem. When Israel was attacked, weakened, and devastated, Edom did not help. Instead, they stood by, rejoiced over Judah's suffering, looted the city, and even blocked escape routes for those fleeing destruction. What makes Obadiah striking is that Edom's sin is not described as direct conquest, but as pride, mockery, opportunism, and indifference. Obadiah unfolds in three main movements. First, God announces judgment against Edom for its arrogance and false sense of security. Second, the prophet details Edom's crimes, emphasizing their moral responsibility as a brother nation. Finally, the book widens its lens, declaring that the day of the Lord applies to all nations and ends with a vision of restoration, where God's kingdom ultimately prevails. Though Obadiah is only one chapter long, it moves from local injustice to global accountability, and from judgment to hope. It reminds readers that history is not random, suffering is not ignored, and pride never has the final word. Historical and social setting. Obadiah is commonly dated to the period following Jerusalem's destruction, likely during the Babylonian invasion in the 6th century BCE. Israel was vulnerable, displaced, and suffering immense loss. Edom, positioned southeast of Judah, occupied rugged mountain territory that provided natural defenses and fostered a deep sense of invincibility. This geography shaped Edom's identity. Living among high cliffs and fortified cities, Edom believed it was secure from attack. That physical safety fed spiritual arrogance. Obadiah confronts this mindset directly. The pride of your heart has deceived you. Obadiah 1 verse 3. In the ancient world, kinship carried moral obligations. When disaster struck, relatives were expected to offer refuge, protection, and aid. Edom's failure was not just political, but deeply ethical. Their betrayal violated shared history, shared bloodlines, and shared responsibility. Obadiah reflects a worldview where nations are accountable to God, not only for what they do, but for what they allow, celebrate, or exploit. Key themes in Obadiah. The deception of pride. Edom believed its position and strength made it untouchable. Pride blinded them to reality and accountability. Betrayal of brotherhood. Judgment comes not only from violence, but from indifference toward the suffering of others, especially those we are connected to. Moral responsibility. Watching injustice and benefiting from it carries guilt. Neutrality in moments of suffering is not morally neutral. Divine justice. God sees actions, motives, and attitudes that human systems overlook. Justice is not forgotten. The day of the Lord. Obadiah expands the message beyond Edom, declaring that all nations will face accountability. Reversal of power. Those who exalt themselves will be brought low, while the oppressed are remembered. Hope and restoration. Judgment is not the final word. God's plan moves toward renewal and rightful order. God's sovereign kingdom. The book ends with a clear declaration: the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Key verses in Obadiah. Obadiah 1 verse 3, the pride of your heart has deceived you. This verse identifies pride as the root cause of Edom's downfall. Obadiah 1 verse 10, because of the violence done to your brother Jacob. Judgment is tied directly to betrayal and indifference. Obadiah 1 verses 12 to 14, condemnation of celebrating another's suffering. It highlights moral failure through mockery, looting, and exploitation. Obadiah 1 verse 15, the day of the Lord is near upon all the nations. Justice is universal, not selective. Obadiah 1 verse 21, the kingdom shall be the Lord's. The book closes with hope and final authority resting with God. Relevance Today. Obadiah speaks clearly into a modern world shaped by power imbalances, political conflicts, and social inequality. It challenges nations, institutions, and individuals who feel secure in privilege while others suffer. The book confronts passive injustice. It asks uncomfortable questions. Do we benefit from systems that harm others? Do we remain silent when suffering does not affect us directly? Do we confuse comfort with righteousness? On a personal level, Obadiah warns against pride rooted in stability, wealth, or position. It reminds us that security can quickly turn into arrogance, and distance can turn into indifference. At the same time, Obadiah offers hope. It assures us that injustice is not permanent, suffering is not invisible, and history is not controlled by the powerful alone. God's justice operates beyond borders, timelines, and human institutions. Closing thought. Obadiah may be brief, but its message lingers. Pride may feel secure. Indifference may feel harmless. Power may appear permanent. But none of it escapes accountability. This small book reminds us that how we respond to the suffering of others matters deeply. Justice is not only about what we do, but about what we allow, celebrate, or ignore. Yet Obadiah does not end in judgment alone. It ends with hope. The final word belongs not to prideful nations or powerful systems, but to God's kingdom. In a world still shaped by arrogance, division, and inequality, Obadiah calls us to humility, responsibility, and trust in a justice greater than our own.